I have been covering for the past several months. I've been covering the protests, the rallies, and as well as the riots. The rally was advertised as a anti-fascist and anti-racism rally, and so I had gone to cover it, and I was live streaming from my channel. And when we had arrived into Madison Square Park, the rally participants were then harassing several of the journalists that were there, and so they had asked us to turn off our cameras. It's freedom of the press, our First Amendment rights, a public space, and we should not be giving in to bullies. And so with that, I said that I would not turn off my media stream because I had the rights to be there. And with that, they began attacking me. And then the first attack was because I was media and press. The second assault had come across because they had identified what channel I was with, who I was. She's a Nazi, go get her. And so in the period of this time, they attacked me with the umbrella. They draped a Black Lives Matter flag around my head, were shoving me from the inside of it. They attacked my equipment, and then when I picked up my equipment, they hit me in the head with an egg. It was absolutely horrifying, and I just don't want anybody to ever experience this, but I don't know what advice I would give to stay safe, but we need to also hold true to our liberties and our First Amendment rights. When I was interviewing with another press about what had just happened, I hear from the background, "Watch out," and then the next thing I see is a can coming towards my head, and I'm thinking, and this is when I'm going to get maced. But it turned out to be an aerosol chemical string that they sprayed at me. And then so with Antifa, what they do is tactical training, they come from a distraction from the front. That was at the time that somebody came from behind me and then hit me with a skateboard. And then I started to run away from the crowd, and I saw police that were located on 25th and Broadway. I ran towards them. I asked them for help. Their first thing that they said to me was they pointed me away and said, "Stay 6 feet away." It was very disheartening. I was seeking them for, protect and serve, and I needed help. There was a mob of 20, 30 people coming after me and chasing me, and it was very heartbreaking to have experienced that, because I do trust them to protect and serve. And then so what happened was I was weaving in and out of the lineup of police bicycles and also motorcycles, and then I tried to stay in the middle of them, and that's when a woman with a soiled diaper came up. She was chasing me around. And then one of the males that was there, he was the one who was leading the crowd at me and saying, "Get her, she's a Nazi." He's the one that came up from behind with the soiled diaper and put it and rubbed it against my head coming around. I'd never been so thankful for a mask on my face at that very moment. So the police are investigating, and the main individuals who had assaulted me is the man with the aerosol spray, the man with the skateboard, and then the man who came up to me with the diaper to my front and rubbed it in my face. And then so this lasted for almost, I would say, from the point of the first attack and assault to the point with the police officers was almost about 40 minutes, because they continued to, in the park, and then a period of settling down, and then they identified who I was to when they chased me over to where the police were at. When I first arrived, it was approximately 10:30 when the march had begun close to Central Park. This march was also in response to a Stop the Steal rally that had been planned for that day, but the Stop the Steal rally had been canceled, but Antifa continued to go on with their protests and their march. And so when they were marching on their way to Madison Square Park, they were chanting "Death to America," amongst other profanities, and claiming the streets as the public spaces as their own.
How many, would you say, were in attendance?
It was a very large crowd. I'm very difficult at estimating. Maybe a couple hundred that were present. A newcomer into the scene, and you can really see a rise of citizen journalists. And I think the importance of that is because you won't see. Often what you see on the ground is not what's going to be represented onto the news. And so with the emergence of platforms where the citizen journalists can show what's really going on, I encourage other people to also be streaming what they have. Please do it safely. My intention when I was there was completely to be a fly in the wall, but later on I had found out that while I was live streaming, the Antifa Twitters had been posting that I was present in the crowd and that they had been looking for me. They've called this the Chud list. This is a new term that has come to me, but I am in that Chud list, and it's ironic because they've pulled photos of me from when I'm even 19 years old whatever information that they can scour and put on from the internet. So there is a list that of people with their photos that they're looking to dox, post people's personal addresses, their family members, and with the intention of doing harm to them. Often they try to target, they slander you by calling you a Nazi, a racist, a term that's used very loosely nowadays to describe a person who is of opposite or different opinion than your own, as opposed to its true nature of what a Nazi is and what racism is. So was on this chud list along with other journalists that are present. So the first assault was because I refused to turn off my stream. And then after I was away from them and sitting on a bench and also talking to other media about the assault that just had happened, that's when I heard them shouting, "That's Tara, order, go get her, don't protect her, she's a Nazi." You need to be having open discussion between, the left and the right, and you put those ideas together, and that's when you can find common ground to achieve change. I was prepared to be asking the crowd for their opinions and their views. I think that would, in a sense, I want to shed light to what are the different views that are out there, and so I was prepared to be asking questions like, why are you here? What is the intention of the protest? What is the main message? Can you define fascism? What can be done to move forward? So those are the questions I was looking to be asking on that day. However, I wasn't able to even get to those questions because they had attacked me for just having my camera on. From what I had seen online, people that there are a lot of I did have an overwhelming support of people condemning the violence that had happened to me that day. But there are also those who were saying, "Oh, she must have done something to deserve it." And so when you're looking at a crowd of 20 and 30 people onto one, like whatever, if a person vocalizes opinion or says something, like you cross the line though when you touch them in any regard. Everybody has the right to an expression and to words, but nobody ever has the right to touch you. However, even in that circumstance, I hadn't said anything that had instigated it in any way. I did 4 months in boxing in the island of Boracay. I've done 2 months of Muay Thai in Thailand. And so I could physically throw a punch back in self-defense, and I would have been within my right. When the man with the skateboard was holding it up against me and he had already come from behind and hit me, he was saying, "I'll knock you out," as he was waving it, and I was pushing it off of me. So it would have been within my right for self-defense. However, I also was conscious to keep my cool, knowing safety-wise 20 and 30 on one would have never worked out in my favor. Honestly, it was a very fight or flight. At that moment, I was scared. I ran to the police and I said to them, "I don't want to be hurt anymore. I already have been." When I was reviewing the footage, it was harder for me to look back at the footage as to what was happening, and not so much because it was something that was happening to me and to my person, but because I can envision it being someone else. Like I said, I can take a punch, but I'm horrified to think this is something that happens in today, in right here in New York City, and to somebody who may be more vulnerable to me than me. And so envisioning this happening to other people is something that is more disheartening and sorrowful to me. The last protest I was there on January 6th. People are accusing me of going inside of the Capitol. I was not inside of the Capitol, and I don't condone violence in any matter from the right side or the left side. I was there to cover the events and to take footage, interviewing people that were on the street. The same to my attendance in other previous rallies. I didn't know that people were going to be going inside. Correct. I don't condone violence from either the left or the right. Nobody has the right to ever hurt another person. Please express yourself in a way that doesn't translate to violence vocally, or I don't like an American flag being burned, but that is something that's constitutionally protected. So as long as you're not committing acts of violence that harm another person, then by all means, speak your political opinion. I am in full support of protests going on. I might not agree with the things that are being said during a protest, but if it's a protest from the right side or the left side, as long as it doesn't translate into violence, by all means, it's a means of keeping the government in check, and that's important because the power of the government comes from the people. So express yourself, protest, and with that, we're all looking right side, left side, no matter what end of the political spectrum you're coming from, we're all looking for progress and we're all looking to be moving forward. there were many instances that I had seen, and I had seen from other footage that were surfacing on social media of when the barricades were opened by police, people were being ushered in. You see as people are going inside of the Capitol, they're staying within the lines of the barriers of the ropes. They're looking more like tourists, not hardened criminals. And then also from accounts I had heard firsthand from individuals who were pushed in because like the amount of crowding that was occurring, some people refused to be going in, and they were trampled in the crowd trying to avoid going inside of the building. So I'm not going to make excuses for people who went in or not, but we have to investigate more. There's definitely more to this story, and I encourage people to do that investigation. Like I said, with the incident where that had happened to me, I just hope that other individuals won't experience what I did. For Antifa and BLM, if you're going to be holding your rallies, you don't have the right to touch another person. Keep it peaceful. Let's all speak our piece. This is America. You don't have the right to use terror and fascism to fight fascism. If that is what you're saying, please learn the definition of fascism too, because actually your actions by utilizing terror is fascism.
Anything you'd recommend journalists going to cover any protests and such?
Don't go by yourself if you're going to be covering protests. It's another unfortunate thing that journalism is becoming such a dangerous career in America. This is the things, like what happened to me is my expectation to be happening in a third world country, not in America. So I would recommend that journalists do take the precautions necessary, go in groups when possible. Of course, I understand as an independent journalist myself, that's not always entirely possible. If it is possible to have a security team with you, that would be the advice that I give to journalists. So everybody, please stay safe.
All right. Thank you so much.